The April 1st meeting of the Parks and Recreation Commission has been canceled. April Fool's.
April
You got it.
Fool, that's fun.
Okay, welcome everybody. This is the beginning of the meeting and call to order. And we need the roll call for quorum, please.
Chairperson Walt, Vice Chair Whitefield,
Here.
Commissioner Baker Roberts, Commissioner Cartwright, Commissioner McDermott, Commissioner Meyer,
Here.
Commissioner Schutte.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Thank you. Okay, first up we have public comment. Anybody have anything they want to say? Please come forward, write your name in the book. And Mr. Arp will start the timer at some point here.
Denny French, Carson City. Thank you, Vice Chair. Tonight I have a lot of questions, and I hope that during the aftermath or maybe at another time some of these will be answered. I am concerned about the influence of any group, whether they are for or against what I am or what I'm about. And in this case, the Foundation for Parks and Recreation are not people I'm against. In fact, I would love to promote the programs and the considerations. I do have a concern at their prevalence in a lot of meeting discussions, and people are discussing the meetings more than I think a 3-minute program would consider, and that when board or commission members bring up a group, like prefer just different things you're all involved in personally. I appreciate that. That helps me get to know you. But that time that is provided for the public to speak is 3 minutes, and during that time, foundations and such then should hold their considerations and promotions of their positions and their considerations, and how do people get onto an agenda to have maybe 4 or 5 people. But I do understand and appreciate the foundation, and I'm getting to know them more. I also have to say that I want to make sure, or at least hope, that you all watched the infill meeting by the Board of Supervisors on May 6th or March 6th, the infill project. And the fact was that the mayor, even though I can't confirm it from the minutes because it wasn't in there, mayor introduced Nick Wentworth, which is Parks, and he and a team. She didn't know Steve or Anthony Stevenson's name at the moment, I guess. It just escaped her mind. But he did come up and he did have comments on that. I know he's going to be the engineer as far as putting whatever in. In fact, we spoke personally. He'll put in regular grass or the turf. He was set to help us with either one. My suggestion, though, is that you remember he's not an expert. In fact, I don't have the email in my possession at this moment, but he stated the fact that he was not an expert on turf, artificial turf, but that he would help them with bullet points for their presentation. I just want to make that clear, and if you could listen to that program again and some of my concerns, I'd appreciate it. I'd also like to thank you all for having your agendas as you do and the material available. I've had trouble finding other people, so please make sure you're on the calendar if you're not sure, because I've missed wildlife because it wasn't. And then sometimes it's hard to find agendas. But tonight I'll listen to the presentation on A5 and look forward to having maybe some of my questions answered or concerns on that. That's relating to the golf course, Parks and Rec. And also I have all that. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Denny. Okay, any other public comment? Nope, okay. We'll move along then to approval of the minutes.
I have 2 corrections to make.
Okay,
On item 5D at 6:53:17, it says that I suggested, so Commissioner Schutte expressed support for right-of-way landscape improvements under the general fund. She suggested removing some of the irrigation and incorporating, and it should read metal art. And that's already been confirmed, so thank you for checking on that.
Thank
So
you.
instead of rock. And then the other one at 7:50:15, on the motion, Vice Chair Whitefield, you seconded it, and in the results, it just lists me as seconding, so that's been corrected as well.
Okay, thank you. That's it? Okay. Do I have a motion for approval?
I move to approve the minutes as corrected from February 4th, 2025.
Have a second? Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, the minutes are accepted. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is 5A for discussion, a presentation on the disc golf. And my understanding is, correct me if I'm wrong, Director, but that has been scrapped for this evening. Is that correct?
Yes, thank you, Jennifer Budge, Parks and Recreation Director. The volunteers weren't ready for their presentation, so they just asked to move it later in the year, and we'll just accommodate them when they're available.
Okay, thank you for that. Item 5B for possible action, discussion and possible action regarding draft East Lampa Ranch Dog Park concept plan. And Director Budge, I think that's your item, is that right?
Thank you. Jennifer Budge, Parks and Recreation Director. We have some staff here representing the developer that's working on, I'm going to call it Lampa East. I know it's all part of Lampa North, but there is a proposed park on the east side of the freeway, and they have a presentation for you to talk about what we could do there. And this is very similar to the 10-acre park on the west side, where the city will not be maintaining it. It'll be maintained by a third-party homeowners association, so there'll be no cost, or maintenance obligations for that. But they've been really great in working with staff on potential concepts and in making sure that we have good pedestrian circulation and other means. So I think Capital Builders is the developer now, and they can talk about what's proposed as far as their development, because it has changed a little bit, but to be a 3-acre dog park on the east side of Lampa Ranch. So you have a whole bunch of stuff in your packet, and I think they can walk you through what's proposed.
Thank you.
Ken Crater. I wasn't sure who was going to come forward.
Good afternoon, and thank you for this opportunity today. My name is Ken Crater with Crater Consulting Group, and I'm representing the ownership group on this project, Guardian Capital. And I have worked with Guardian Capital on numerous projects in northern Nevada, and they just do a really high-quality product. And the reason is they hold on to their product for the long term. And so on this project, where they're planning on building a pretty significant apartment complex on the East Lampa Ranch, this park comes into play, because per the specific plan, there's a requirement that this park has to be completed to the city's satisfaction and offered for dedication to the city by the 250th unit. We're planning on building about 384 apartments, so that will trigger the need for this park. But we are going to do this park out of the gate. We love the idea of having this park in place as we start renting the apartments. It's a great amenity. And Guardian will also have a significant amount of common open space amenities within their project. A large clubhouse, they'll have multi-use sport courts, a large pool, spa areas. So it'll be a very nice project. But this park, being basically adjacent to the project and in very close proximity, affords the opportunity for folks that live at the complex that have dogs to utilize this facility. And when I first met with Jennifer on this, one of the things that I had thought about already is we're going to incorporate a loop trail around the entire perimeter of our project that ties into this park at both ends. And we'll grant a public use easement on that trail. So folks that walk in the park or folks that want to walk their dogs from the SPCA facility will be able to loop on this trail, which is about a half mile. And it also goes up along Airport Road next to that open channel ditch, which will landscape all the way between Airport Road and our project in proximity to the ditch. So it should create a very nice walking environment. And as you know, there's also the multi-use trail that runs along the freeway and also the wetlands mitigation area, and that will also tie into that loop trail. So very excited about getting this done, and my role is basically just to provide oversight for the entire project, and I've been helping with all the different entitlement aspects, coordinating the design. I want to make sure that we've got a great team of consultants on this that know what they're doing. And we do. Melissa Ruth, who's going to come up next, is the project landscape architect. And my firm has also worked with Melissa on countless park and landscape projects through the years. They're very talented and very creative. So with that, I'm going to introduce Melissa, and I'll let her walk you through what she's planning for in this park.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Hi, I'm Melissa Ruth with Calendar Associates, Landscape Architecture. So what we have on the screen, I'll walk you through the dog park concept, and then in the packet, there's a couple other exhibits talking about circulation, like Ken mentioned, and kind of the overall context of the project. So let's see. All right, so you guys can see this. So as part of the project, the North Lampa Lane is going to be constructed with the project. And so that allows the opportunity to have two distinct dog parks. One is about 1.3 acres, another one is about 1.6 acres. And that's typically, we would separate out the small dog and the large dog. So that's how those have been designed. So with the small dog park up here, there's going to be access via a vestibule, which is usually a double gate that kind of helps keep the dogs from running away once you take their leashes off. It's surrounded by a fence and some lawn area, which is in green. And we've identified a space that would be a gathering area. We're envisioning some benches, concrete pavement, maybe some type of shade element over the bench. And then access across North Lampa is right kind of in this area here, which is going to allow for access also for the development, the apartment complex and the users onto the multi-use trail. Since when working with with Jennifer and their team on the plan, there was a desire to have some parking because we know people are probably going to bring their dogs away, from other areas. So there's a parking lot and then the vestibule for the larger dog park. So this is a nice long linear parks to run your big dogs. Similar elements with lawn, fencing surrounding it, and a small gathering area with benches. So when you're also going to see this dashed line, which is the blue kind of proposed circulation pattern for pedestrians. And so it's showing where crossings are going to go, where a new sidewalk is going to be going in on both sides of North Lampa, and how it's going to cross Budeye and Airport Road. This is kind of a critical connection that we met with the Humane Society and thought that was a great idea to get people that are wanting to socialize with the dogs to walk the perimeter with them and get onto the multi-use trail. I'm going to go up one. Oh, sorry. There's going to be a few other things that, because of the scale, like trash cans, drinking fountains with the pet bowl, bottle filler, rule sign kiosk. So there's going to be all those kind of pieces. The Humane Society also requested having some type of bulletin board so that they can post information about the Humane Society on both of these areas. So those are included. We just didn't draw them because the scale is a little bit small. Here you can see, let's go a little slower here. Here's the overall kind of map showing the project limits. Right here are the two dog parks. And then you'll see where the red is the existing kind of pedestrian circulation and where the Humane Society and the Parks and Rec office are. and how the blue would be adding, like Ken mentioned, a perimeter walking path, access across Airport Way or Airport Road, and access to that multi-use path, which gets you to some of these larger connection trails. So I think that's it. If you guys have any specific questions with these exhibits that I shared.
Hello, Diane Roberts. And I don't know if I might have seen public comment, but there's two sidewalk areas going across some busy streets to get on either side of these apartments and parks. So if you're walking, I guess that'd be north of the vestibule. How far is it to this crosswalk that takes you
Right.
over to the existing path?
Oh, the one on the right here?
Well, there and the other. On the west. Well, that's west over here,
Okay,
right there.
yeah, right here.
Was there gonna be a flashing
Yeah.
pedestrian light?
Yes,
You're talking.
yes, sorry, I didn't mention that.
What about the other one you pointed to first?
At this intersection.
Right,
Can,
I was just curious.
Again, for the record, Ken Crater. Yes, we are working with the city to install a rapid rectangular flashing beacon there that's push button activated. My background's in traffic engineering, and so I've looked very closely at that intersection in terms of the safe stopping sight distance. And we had our engineer lay in the sight triangle requirements there and the list of pull the trees and landscaping back accordingly. We maintain the sight distance, and also when we met with the Humane Society, that was also a big deal to him from a safety concern standpoint. So again, we're working closely with Carson City staff, and our plan and goal is to put those rapid rectangular flashing beacons at both of those crosswalk locations.
Thank you.
To go along, I'm not gonna take you can keep going, but is that a four-way stop?
At Airport Road.
Yeah, here
Yes.
at Bud Eye Airport
Yes.
and North Lump, so that will
Yes,
be
that will be operated as the always stop.
always stop, thank you. I'm sorry, go ahead, Diane.
No, I was finished.
Thank you, and I really like the design, although I'm a little concerned about the crosswalk in that I don't anticipate people who park in the parking lot then walking, if they're wanting to cross the street, I don't see them as walking to either crosswalk. I see them crossing right there. Is it possible to put in a crosswalk between the two vestibules? Was that discussed?
From a safety standpoint, unfortunately, there's not enough sight distance there. And some people might, I mean, you can't control every pedestrian, but if they stand there and look, they'll realize that they don't have a good line of sight for
Right.
cars, which I think is more likely to get them to walk down to the crosswalk. And it's just a short walk. It's literally only like 30 feet away.
I understand, okay.
But hopefully with that rapid rectangular flashing beacon, especially if they have small children or pets, they will crosswalk just because it is safer, because then it has the required sight distance to safely process.
I understand 100%. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to bring that up as it's important to note. But I also understand that if there's a crosswalk, then there's an assumption that people will stop. And so it can create its own safety issue by having a crosswalk versus encouraging folks to go to.
The other thing is
To the
North
safer
Local Lane
spots.
is designated as a minor collector. It's not an arterial street,
Right.
so it won't be as busy as, say, the northern part of Airport Road up by Highway 50. And the other nice thing about North Lumpel Lane is, for whatever reason, the previous people that looked at buying this property, the plan at the time was to take North Lumpel Lane into Desatoya Drive, which is one of the residential streets that leads into the older single-family residential neighborhood. And as a longtime transportation engineer and planner, encourage him to drive through a residential neighborhood. So I worked with Carson city staff, and they agreed it made a lot more sense to take Desatoya Drive along the freeway, along that wetland mitigation area, and tie it into Butteye and Airport Road, because a lot of that traffic is going to make a right turn and head towards Fifth Street.
Mhm.
And so with that, there's a lot of curvature on North Lompa Lane, which is naturally going to help slow people down. There's just a lot of curves, not much in the way of tangents. So that will be helpful too when people do arrive at this location. Hopefully, they're traveling at a much lower speed than the 80 to 70, 85th percentile on Airport Road. People go way too fast on Airport Road.
Thank
And
you.
one other thing I want to mention is we're also going to extend a sidewalk north on Airport to the school that fronts the road that fronts the elementary school. I can't remember the name of that street, but we're going to bring sidewalk up to there. That's a stop sign, an always stop location. So that will also provide a safe crossing for people that do live in that single family
Nice.
residential neighborhood. So they'll either be able to cross that street, which is just, I think, north of Desatoya, or walk down to Airport Road and cross there.
Thank you. I had a couple other questions. The lawn area, how big will the lawn area be? I see the 0.6 acre and the 1.3 acres. That also includes the granite. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you have a
And as we work on the final design, some of it's going to be based on how we grade it and, where we're going to actually have trees and landscape area. So I don't think I have an actual dimension on the lawn. It's at a conceptual stage.
okay.
But a
Okay.
significant portion of each of the small and larger dog parks. We've heard that loud and clear from staff that for all the public input they've received here, people really want a lot of lawn in the dog park. It's harder to maintain, but it's nice. You can't.
Well, it makes for a more usable dog park, so thank you. And is there an idea of where the agility course will be? Is that small section, or has that been discussed yet?
We haven't gone into
Okay,
detail on
okay, I
that.
was just
Yeah.
curious, so, all right, thank you.
But we've got a half mile of pathway to put it on. So
That's amazing,
it might even be
yes.
broken up with stations along the way.
Oh, I love it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Meyer?
Is there parking allowed on North Lampa Lane?
The city policy for, and again, Ken Crater for the record, the policy for a minor collector is parking is allowed on minor collector streets for specific uses like parks. And so we are planning on also adding some on-street parking on North Lompa Lane up against the wetland mitigation area, because we think that's a terrific place for people that say just want to go walking on that multi-use path, to not take up parking within the dog park and have easy access to get on the trail. So, yes.
Okay, so to kind of what Lisa was concerned about, some of those people will be able to park if they're going to the small park
Yes,
along the road.
exactly. Because that will be just immediately west of that crosswalk.
Of the crosswalk at airport.
No, the one
this-
that's just west of the parking lot.
This
Yeah, that one
would be
right there.
this one.
All right, but we'll be able to park to the east of it also.
Well, I didn't want to put parking to the east because that's in a curve, and again, the sight distance gets poor for
Okay,
people that are trying to pull in and out of a parking stall.
How will we restrict them from parking? Just no parking signs?
Yes,
Okay, thank
yeah,
you.
red curve and no parking signs.
10-4? I just had one comment on your features there. I didn't see the mutt mitt stations and so forth.
Yeah, that's part of the trash
Okay,
cans. We
well, I
would do
just
that.
thrown that
Yep.
out there.
Yeah.
We'll also
definitely
have
want
those
those.
in a couple of key locations along our half-mile loop
Mhm.
trail.
I knew it wouldn't be forgotten, but I just thought
good.
I'd throw it out there that it wasn't itemized, so.
I guess I have a couple of questions. Do you have, it looks like there's some parking spots within the apartment area, is that correct?
Yes.
Do you anticipate people that want to want to go to the small park to come into your apartment complex?
It'll be gated.
Oh,
Gated.
okay, very good. I guess my other question, you mentioned up front that you're planning on building this before the trigger point of 250 units is reached. That means right away?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah, we plan on building this with all of our initial backbone infrastructure and utilities. So the plan is to have this park in place before we sign the first lease.
Okay, so it's an amenity for you to
Yes,
promote
as well as
promote the
city.
property. Yeah, very good.
Be a nice gateway.
Yeah, very nice. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you very much. Nice presentation, and we appreciate the information.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, that was an action item.
That's an action item?
Yep.
Is that's up for approval?
Yes.
Okay,
You have a draft proposed action item for consideration in your packet and your staff report,
all right.
if you need some help.
Do we have a motion?
Oh, I'm looking for the draft. I have too many papers here. Well,
Yes?
do you want the
we do?
public comment first, or do you want the public
Before the-
comment after the?
First, okay. All right, we'll take public comment on this item.
Thank you, Chair. Denny French, Carson City. Ditto, ditto, ditto on your comments and questions. I appreciate them, and I appreciate the presentation. I'm not supposed to look around, sorry. But I do have a question that I didn't hear asked. The restrooms, are there going to be any? And for the night sky matter, what kind of lighting are they considering? And will it be solar related, so it's on evenings, or is it going to be powered? And then would the city be responsible for not the lighting at all? I think that the unit itself and the homeowners will take care of the water and the maintenance, my understanding correct. So if I've got that right, the only question I have is about a restroom. And I am concerned about the traffic. I think it will build with the apartments being there where they are. So I, at least Ms. Schutte, I'm sorry. All right, had brought that up. And the rest of you, thank you very much.
Thanks, Denny.
I can answer those really quick. Jennifer Budge, Parks and Recreation Director. There are no restrooms proposed for this park, and it'll be a dawn to dusk park, so there won't be lights to obscure the night sky.
All right,
Okay.
well, I have a motion.
Further public comment? No? Motion?
I move to approve the Lampa Ranch Park Concept Plan as accepted.
Second?
I second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The proposal is accepted. Okay. Moving along to 6A, the director's report. Director Budge, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jennifer Budge, Parks and Recreation Director. You have a copy of all the Board of Supervisors action items in your packet. Are there any questions on those? No? Okay. Just a few updates. I'll make my report a little bit longer since we had such a light agenda, so I thought I'd take advantage of that. We have a new hire. Eric Landis is our new sports field coordinator, so we're so excited to finally fill that position. It's been vacant for about a year and a half, so we finally found a really great person, so happy to have him here. We have 2 promotions from staff. Dylan Goodnight was promoted to Parks Crew Coordinator, and Bob Tonseth was promoted to Open Space Maintenance Foreman, which is wonderful. And with those promotions, we have a couple vacancies from their former positions. So we have 2 park maintenance worker openings right now, and most of our seasonal positions are open for the summer, so it's a great time to apply. Lifeguarding is still the best job ever, so I encourage everyone to apply for those fun summer jobs. Youth programs, sports, we have cashier jobs. We start hiring at 15, so it's a great first job, a great way to learn some skills and work for the department. A few project updates for construction items. Nick Wentworth, our park project manager, is doing a great job as usual. We have new dugouts going in at Field 1 at Governor's Field, which is wonderful. Those are about to start, I think, any day now for construction. They'll be in place before Little League season starts, which is great. Centennial tennis courts, those are under construction right now. We're rehabilitating all 8 tennis courts with post-tension concrete courts, which is really high quality, a big capital investment up front, but a lower maintenance cost long-term. I encourage you to go up and check it out. It's pretty amazing to see all those courts under construction right now. The Mills Park pickleball courts, the construction will start next week, which is really amazing. So we'll hopefully have those, by mid to late summer, hopefully complete. But similar post-tension concrete courts, so really high quality courts. We have 2 new restrooms at Mills Park and 1 at Centennial Park near the tennis courts. Those are in fabrication right now. So toward the end of the year is when we'll be able to install, because it takes a long time to put those together. And then at Schultz Ranch Park, we have some sidewalk replacements starting soon as well. Any questions on any of that so far?
Earlier, we talked about, somebody in the audience was talking about some of the expertise with your staff and so forth, and I thought it might be a good opportunity for you to sing Eric Landis's qualifications and so forth. I met him the other night at the YSA meeting, and it seems that he has some pretty in-depth qualifications.
He's pretty amazing. He come to us with some pretty significant knowledge. I sat next to Dave Navarro and him having a conversation about turf and the plant and the, theories of how you go about everything related to sports fields. And they were just like 2 kids in a candy shop. So we're really excited to have him. He comes, I think, from Pennsylvania. Which is pretty great.
And I chatted with him for a little bit, and he has extensive experience with the turf also. So
But
that's
yeah,
a
artificial
great
and
asset.
natural turf.
Yeah, the artificial turf that we're doing up at the Centennial has
Yeah,
a lot of knowledge of that too. So
absolutely.
I was kind of throwing that out there.
Yeah, thank you so much. I promised to keep you updated on the legislative session. It's still a little bit early, so I just wanted to let you know a few bills that I'm monitoring right now. I think it's really too early to have any really robust conversations on these because they could be amended, they could be pulled. There's a lot of things that could still happen right now, but I just wanted to give you a really quick overview on those. AB 429 is regarding conservation easements and how they're relinquished, which Carson City does have conservation easements. There's important ones in neighboring counties as well, so we're keeping an eye on that. SB 21, which is regarding Conserve Nevada funding. That's the former state question 1, which is grant opportunities for outdoor education and park infrastructure projects. The city has received millions of dollars from the state question 1 funding, so we hope to make sure that there's no huge changes with that. I don't anticipate that one because they've approved that before. SB 334, which is increasing the wage for hiring of offenders to minimum wage. I think Commissioner Meyer asked me about that previously, and that one has now been introduced, which shows a staggered approach to get to minimum wage for offenders. And we do hire offenders as part of our team. We have anywhere from 15 to 18 inmates as part of our park maintenance team that helps with landscapes all across the city. So that's an important one for us that could be have fiscal impacts. AB 350, which is regarding cemetery operations, disinterment requests, and maintenance standards. There's nothing too alarming so far in that one, but I'll keep an eye on that. I think the intent of that bill is just to make sure that cemeteries are still maintained, respectfully and a place that people can be proud of and not be burdensome. So we're watching that. And then SB 405, which is essentially a Rails to Trails for outdoor recreation, which is a national program, and it's talking about that locally. So I will keep an eye on these and report back to you as I need to. And we always go through Cameron Gresh, our government affairs staff person, so he reports items to the board as well. Any questions on the legislature before I move forward? Okay. And then in your packet is a proposed art donation. So I just wanted to hear your thoughts. Anna Freeman, our arts and culture supervisor, provided you a little overview of the potential donation, and they're basically musical instruments that can be out in a park. It could be part of a playground. They could go anywhere, just for anybody to enjoy, all ages and abilities. We're proposing they go over by the new amphitheater. We put that's a donation from the chamber leadership class of last year. They did an amazing job redoing that whole area with the mural honoring Stan Jones. And they put some concrete slabs in there for future art sculptures. So the proposal is to put 2 of these musical instruments that are interactive. They look like flowers. I think it'd be really complement the park well, but putting them on the concrete slabs, and then they would be surface mounted. So as we do that overhaul of Mills Park and we think, oh, maybe that wouldn't be a good fit later on, we can always relocate those if we need to. But right now, that's the proposed location. We did talk about a potential location outside of the art building, which we've kind of turned the kids club into. But I think we need to do a whole plan for the outside of that building and kind of reimagine that space as well. So any questions or comments or feedback I can provide Anna?
I love the idea, and the timing was perfect. 2 weeks ago, I met with a community member who she wanted to meet, talk about the parks, and she brought up that very idea. And she was saying, how can we get that kind of interactive musical toy, or what, I don't know what it's called, but and then to see this, it was perfect. And what was really nice about it is this gal, she says, you know, she wants to be a part of finding funding, and she wants to be a part of helping our playgrounds and making them more interactive, or adding different fun like rope courses and different things like that. And so it was just wonderful to see this, because she had just brought it up. So, and I thought she'd be here tonight. So
Oh.
but I'll forward her the info. And I'm thrilled, and I am all behind the acceptance of
Wonderful.
these
Thank you.
musical flowers.
When we have in the SNPLMA grant funding, you know, we're going to completely rehab and build a very large playground at Mills Park. So we have no idea what that will look like, but it might be an opportunity to have a larger interactive. We definitely want to, any new playgrounds, we should have at least 50% fully accessible for our community. And having those musical components is a really fun way to do that. Any other comments or concerns on the art donation?
I just wanted to say they have those there at the Brewery Art Center, right in front of the brewery. So pretty neat. I see grown-ups playing with them a lot too. So
Good. I like it. We promote fun. That's our job.
That's why I called them toys.
Okay, and then the last item to talk about is the budget. So would you like to start with the spreadsheet? I think we'll start there. So this is just a snapshot of the city's budget, just the parks-related items, well, most of the parks-related items. There are a few items not shown on here because they are listed under the other departments. This is all still tentative. To give you a time frame, the Board of Supervisors is going to consider the tentative budget at the May 1st Board of Supervisors meeting. So they'll review supplemental requests, which are, to remind you, items that are requested to be added to the operating account, like services and supplies, or additional staff that are being requested, or capital improvement requests, which are major and minor. So minor is under 5,000 and major are over 5,000. Most things, everything's so expensive, are major requests. So these are the lists of items. If you look at the fund, the 210 fund is from the general fund. So that's typically from the capital improvement program funds. Walking you down from the top of the list, you'll see what our requests were and what is being recommended to the Board of Supervisor in the FY26 column. So the FY26 column is what is being recommended for funding to the Board of Supervisors. Obviously, the board can accept or deny or add anything that they would see fit, but this is what is the result of all the directors meeting with the city manager and available funding considerations. So the items that are recommended from the general fund to 10 fund are the Pete Livermore Sports Complex ADA project. We already have that designed, and we have leftover funds that will contribute toward that effort in addition to the 310,000. Cart path repairs at Eagle Valley. We have a contractual obligation with Duncan Golf to make sure that they are contributing 10% of their net operating income toward improvements at the course, as long as the city matches that. So that would meet the need there. Carson River Park parking lot, if you have been out there, it really needs an overhaul. So that's recommended for funding. Monte Vista Park, that is also including sidewalk repairs on North Ridge as well. So it's not just Monte Vista Park. There's other improvements included in there. Let's see, Lone Mountain Cemetery. So it skips a line in Lone Mountain Cemetery, partial roadway reconstruction. And then some right-of-way landscape improvements for 50,000 each. One is for focusing on irrigation. One is focusing on trees and shrub replacements and landscape material. And the other one is converting some right-of-ways to lower maintenance, xeriscape, irrigation, removal, and then maybe art where appropriate. Then we have field construction shortfall. That's related to Centennial Park. So the Centennial Park fields are, current engineer's estimate, and looking at the fields, it's still a little bit shy, regardless of the bond that we are receiving. So that would meet the shortfall for that project. And then refreshing the concession restroom at Centennial Park. Because if we're going to be having these first-class fields, we should have first-class buildings around it, and not replacing the entire building, but a refresh of that. New plumbing, new fixtures, new equipment at the snack bar. Any questions on those items or the 210 fund before I move on to the next sections? Okay. Moving down to Schultz Ranch, that's our landscape maintenance district. Then that is funded in part by the residents out there, and there's an annual contribution by the city from the general fund. So we would like to upgrade the irrigation controller for efficiencies and water savings. And then we have some concrete pathways, landscapings, and some just basic repairs that we need to start being able to do now that the parks and everything out there is almost 10 years old now. So we're just starting to see the need for repairs. It's not a new request, it's existing funding. It's an undesignated funds and just moving it over for those expenses. So the LMD is not a new ask, it's completely funded within itself already. Any questions on Schultz Ranch? Okay. Then moving down to the quality of life parks section. So you see 254, so these are our quality of life funds. The first ones are just to remind you, we have 3 categories in quality of life funding. 40% is open space, 40% is quality of life capital, and 20% is park maintenance. So the 5012 there is the park maintenance portion, and it specifically lists in that initiative to focus on the MAC, the shooting facility, and other certain functions. So all of our requests are compliant with those restrictions. So funding hoop repair and curtain repair, maintenance and inspection. That's the curtain, the divider. It's not really a curtain, but it divides the entire gym facility across. So it's definitely an important feature to be able to separate uses, and when we have kids maybe in one section and we need to have other activities in others. MAC floor resurfacing, we do that every other year. A track loader, that'll be a shared expense. It's actually more than $29,000. It would be shared between park maintenance and open space. So you'll see that listed twice. Theater rigging safety inspection, that's another inspection and function that we conduct every other year. A new mower, this is one of the large mowers for park maintenance, the $93,000. Then going on to page 2, replacing 2 other mowers that are smaller, adding speakers to the PA system for the MAC, for one section. This won't fund all of it. This would be over 2 years. Then looking at the aquatic facility front desk carpeting, I know Commissioner Myers was encouraging that item. It was cut from the facilities budget, so we were able to add it into ours. Let's see, a sweeper debris vacuum, that's for park maintenance. So for parking lots and our paved trails, things like that. Then computers for park maintenance workers. We have a couple available for them, but we have 11 park maintenance workers and not everybody has a computer. We don't want one for everybody, but at least a computer cache so they can do their time cards, they can do their training online and everything like that over at the corporate yard. Then youth program furniture, we were able to fund out of this year's budget, so it won't be needed for next year. And then the big item that some of the big items we're moving into the capital account, you'll see, the 5046. We need an entire new filtration system at the pool, so that's a hefty item. That includes design and construction and replacement of that. But if we don't have the large pool filter system, we can't operate the pool. And then $600,000 for implementing the Centennial Park Master Plan. Likely the first phase of our drainage improvements is what we included. And then Buzzy's rights, water rights acquisition, that'd be over 2 years. The funding identified in FY27 for that would be reimbursed from a SNPLMA grant because we have a $1.8 million SNPLMA grant for water rights acquisition, but it doesn't cover everything. And that's the open space fund. And then you see that track loader, that's the other half of the one listed prior in park maintenance. The community cleanup trailer wrap and tool cache, we won't need to do that because the Rotary Club of Carson City has graciously sponsored us and they are funding a new wrap. Home Depot is adding to our tool cache. And then we also have some support from the Parks Foundation as well for that project. So that won't be required and cost savings. And then we wanted to contribute toward some asphalt repairs for Morgan Mill for the trailhead. Probably some crack sealing, slurry sealing to help preserve that parking lot. Any questions on those? Okay, well, you guys are easy. Residential construction tax, we have Sunset Park, removal of the existing playground and re-envisioning and designing a whole new playground, new equipment. And we want to focus the majority of that on, the 3 to 5 year old playground, which is great because that's the primary use. We definitely heard that from the public. So we'll be working on that. Hopefully we can design and construct that within 1 year. We're really hopeful we can do that. Any questions on that item? Thumbs up? Okay, I like it. And then the cemetery. So just a couple things. We're trying to add every year money toward purchasing niches. That is a huge request, and we have a waiting list right now for niche purchases. They're very expensive. It's very hard to find vendors for these, so we're working on that. Anyway, but we're trying to put money away every year for that. And then working on contributing toward reconstruction of the cemetery roadways. You'll see that also in the 210 account, requesting that from the general fund, but we wanted to contribute as much as we could from the cemetery fund toward that.
What does $25,000 get us as far as the niches?
For the niches, I can't say right now. The costs keep going up and we are chasing down vendors for those. So I'm not sure how much we'll get for that. We already have funding from previous years set aside. So we probably have anywhere from 70 to 90,000 already set aside for niches from previous fiscal years.
Thank you.
So we're doing as much as we can to get as many as we can on the ground. The first set of niches is envisioned on the Roop Street side of the cemetery where you have that little roundabout near the upright section. We want to finish that wall around that roundabout. And then we're going to bring a cemetery master plan here to you. Nick Wentworth is working on that. That'll have additional niche wall areas spread throughout the cemetery property, and we'll get some feedback on that.
Other questions?
When we buy those and sell those, is it straight across? Are we making what we're buying them for? And
For our cost recovery goals for those, it's just a break even. For everything else, we just cover our labor, time and materials
okay,
with
thank you.
all our other fees.
So those fees might go up when we actually put them in and say, hey, we put 100 in and it costs this much, and this is.
Yeah, and if we can get some better vendor response, I would have a better answer for you. Because
Well, that's
it's
fine.
just, it's very unique and it's difficult. We've actually joined a national association for cemeteries, and they have amazing resources, and we're trying to get some help through that national association to get some better guidance on it. We've called, Fernley and Fallon and a lot of other cemeteries to try to figure out who they deal with, but it doesn't always work out for our sites. The ones like at the Veterans Cemetery in Fernley are amazing, but they're very significant in size, and I don't know if that would fit into the scheme of what we have at Lone Mountain.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
In terms of the niches or the cremation niches, I know that like sometimes remains are buried with a buried body. And my understanding is there's a limit of 2.
Yes.
Is that, can that be flexible to help offset the, I just think about a family and I'll
Sure.
even, my brother is buried there and then my parents, their cremated remains are now with him. Is it possible to increase the number?
I can look into that, but I recall that there's some guidance in the Nevada Administrative Code about that.
Okay.
So it becomes a tracking problem as well.
Mhm.
And then if there is a disinterment, and who knows what the ashes might have been provided in previously, and then you're disturbing other ground if there's a request for that. It's kind of a cascading implication for
Right.
that, but I can get an answer for you
All right.
and get back to you.
Thank you.
Other questions? I have, I have a couple if nobody else has anything. I want to move back to the first page.
Okay.
Did I understand correctly the stuff for parks, under Parks and Rec for the general, coming from the general fund? This is not supplemental? This is,
These are all one-time projects.
okay,
These lists on both pages, one-time projects.
one-time projects.
So
We
the
had,
supplementals are typically ones that carry over year after year. Like if I needed to add $20,000 for maintenance contracts for a certain location, we would maybe request that $20,000 be there. So every year we could contract that service out.
so, of interest to me, of course, is, I can't imagine, we had, yeah, exactly. We had discussed in the past adding some funds to improve the old pickleball courts. Where would those fall in
I
these
believe we
categories?
added it to the 5-year capital plan. So it
Okay.
wouldn't be this document.
Not this
Yeah.
document. Okay, that was,
But we did put that in there for Mills Park for rehabilitating the existing temporary courts
Okay.
that the volunteers put in.
cool.
And I think we talked about FY '27 or FY '28.
Yeah, 27, I thought, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Under quality of life, MAC hoop and curtain repair and so forth, this is probably a question for Dan, but it really just a comment. If we do any curtain repair, can we pay attention to the drop on the curtain? Because right now, I mean, we have a safety issue because it doesn't go far enough. Is that something that needs to be brought up, or you're already aware, and if we do a repair, you'll have that in mind?
Dan Arp for the record. I mean, most of the repairs that we've been doing and what we have the contract for is more like the motors and everything up high. As far as we'd have to just talk to the manufacturer, see what we could do, if there's any options to lower that an inch or two or whatever we need to do. Because that might be out of the
Scope?
of what the people who are working on the motors and
Got it.
the safety straps and all the other stuff
Okay,
can do.
yeah, I wasn't
so.
sure what kind of repairs would be done to the curb.
Yeah, so it's mostly all the stuff up high, like the safety straps and the motors, and that we have to have inspected. It's inspected and repaired regularly.
Okay, I know some of the rods that go through the bottom are bent. And I didn't
Yeah, and
know
that
if
was a custom, like, that we got Facilities and Public Works to kind of add in there to kind of
Okay,
weigh it down
so
a
weigh
little
it
bit more
down.
and gave us a
half an inch. Yeah, okay, very good, that's good, thank you. And this is just of interest to me because I don't know enough about the water rights acquisition to know what that's about and what, I mean, that's a pretty big item, right?
It's significant. So Lindsay Boyer, our open space manager, has been working so hard on this, and we have assembled sort of a team of experts regarding this. We have water rights attorneys, we have a water rights expert, we have a bunch of people helping us work on this because it is very complicated. But when the city acquired Buzzy's Ranch, it was with State Question 1 funding that I mentioned earlier, and the city at the time didn't have the resources to purchase the water rights with the land. So this is us trying to make sure that we preserve the land and in its historical state, which is the reason we acquired it. And we've had partnerships and temporary water and annual applications, and it's really complicated. So Lindsay wrote a grant for $1.8 million, and the city's received that. So that's the second round of water rights that will be acquired, and I anticipate, at least in the next 6 months, that we'll have 1 to maybe 3, I can't really divulge everything, but 1 to maybe 3 agreements regarding water rights actually going and purchasing them. So how it's built out in the budget is how we anticipate the dollars to go. So
So-
we'll probably have a separate agreement related to the SNPLMA water rights because we need to keep that separate because of the grant. And there will maybe be 1 to 2 purchases for the first round of water rates.
So again, I'm not that familiar with the situation, so what in fact, what use is the water put to?
There's there's agricultural use, there's wetlands, wildlife habitat in particular to help preserve those ranch lands. We have the Andersons are ranching it on behalf of the city, helping manage and maintain, the vegetation on there. I anticipate after we acquire all the water, doing some pasture leases and some other things like that to help with an overall management plan for the entire site.
Cool, thank you very much. Is there any action on this? This was just information, right?
No, just information.
Okay.
That's why I put it under the director's report. And then if we can move on, you're okay with any other questions on this document?
I'm good, thank you.
Then we'll move over to the organizational chart that I provided you. So we have proposed, and we'll see where the budget shakes out. Obviously, you've seen organizations all across, the state and across the nation doing cuts. So we've tried to be really creative and provide financial support from the department to help fund a significant portion of this. The first page is a portion of our organizational chart, and I really just want to focus on the second page, which is the proposed park maintenance reorganization. And, we've heard from the public where we have certain needs, we know where we struggle and where there's opportunities for improvement, and we hear that. So this proposal has a proposed urban forester that would have a team of people that already work with us and really focusing on tree health, tree inventory, tree replacements, really focusing on our urban forest, working with the Nevada Department of Forestry, getting more tree grants and more tree education, which is so important. We would also add an irrigation coordinator if this is approved. We only have 1 irrigation person for the entire park system, including all of the rights of way and everywhere. And he is amazing field guy, but he can only do so much by himself. So adding an irrigation coordinator that can really take on the software needs that we have for our system, Weather Track, and helping support, that field. So they would field work. So they would be a working supervisor. Adding the sports field coordinator is just an adjustment of the pay grade. Right now, that pay grade is $1,000 less at the bottom of the scale and $1,000 less at the top of the scale than the other coordinators. So we just wanted to even that out to make sure they're all being paid the same. That might have to wait for the Carson City Employee Association contract to open. We might have to time that differently, but we did include it with the budget request. Then adding a full-time person at our park shop. Right now, Paul Griffiths is our park shop coordinator. He's amazing, but he's very talented and he gets pulled all over out into the field to do a million different things. So we're proposing reclassing the park shop coordinator to a park supervisor and then having a full-time person just in the shop, which we need. So we maintain our entire fleet of rolling stock, not vehicle fleet, but rolling stock. So mowers, small tools and equipment. We maintain all those in-house so we don't have to contract that out and have that high overhead. But some goals of this organization is just to improve our overall level of service, increase employee retention, to provide opportunities and tracks for park maintenance workers to be able to move up. So if you're an entry-level park maintenance worker and you discover that you have a real feel for irrigation, you could be able to have an opportunity to move up. Or if you're interested in urban forestry and tree health, you'd have a track there. Or if you're really handy and you work in the shop or you can easily pick up fixing a mower, that might be another opportunity as well. So it gives the staff the ability for opportunities to advance, but then also to retain those employees because they see internal promotional opportunities when they come up. And just like I said, tonight we had 2 promotions, which was really great. So we do have that movement at times. Another big thing is our park operations manager, Dan Castens. He's amazing, but he has 17 direct reports. So this reduces the span of control for him so he can better support his staff, so staff get the support that they need, and it's not so overwhelming for him. So he has just, if you think about hiring, evaluations, and all of that feedback opportunities and managing time off requests and just that for 17 people is a lot. So it's reducing those direct reports for him, creating other supervisory opportunities, and just to better support the staff. We have proposed a funding strategy for this, so it's not 100% ask from the general fund, and we can offset about 2/3 of it through existing funds by reallocating staff, including myself, toward, where they work. So charging people to quality life maintenance and charging people to these other funds that we manage where appropriate and only where they're working, but to be able to free up some funding so it's not a huge general fund ask. So it's essentially, it's 3 new positions and 1 reclass, for about the price of 1.5 people, which is significant. But I recognize the city has, significant needs across the city, and, we're all asking the same pot of money for some of it. So I know that they have hard decisions ahead, but this will be discussed at the May 1st meeting as part of the tentative budget. Any questions on the reclass? Any concerns?
Do you have those 3 positions? I mean, if you could have 1, which would you pick? 2, which would you pick? 3, which you, will that come up? Is that a way of dealing with it? And I'm not asking you to divulge that at all.
Sure.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. I think that's a valid question.
I mean,
and we'll
hey,
need to be prepared.
Be prepared to
for
say
that.
this is
Mhm.
this is what we can do with the 1 position. This is what we can do with 2, and this is what we can do.
Absolutely.
Yippee for 3. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Absolutely.
just a thought.
Yeah. We'll be ready for that. I don't know if I'm ready to say what that is, but as a team, I'll meet with all the managers, and as a team, we'll agree with what those priorities are. So if we are asked that hard question, we can do that. I mean, I think I fully recognize we have needs in all of these areas. And I see the park supervisor potentially becoming certified in playground safety, which is a gap that we have. We've had certified playground safety specialists, but they're just they've been in staff positions that haven't stayed with us. So it's a hard certification to get. It's a lot of technical knowledge and a lot of potential liability to the city with playgrounds. So it's an important one. We have significant tree needs. I mean, irrigation is huge. It's just everywhere. So Israel, who's our irrigation specialist, is so amazing, but he can only be in so many spots. So
Yeah, when you were talking about this, you know, the many hats that people need to wear, and not only wearing several hats, but wider brimmed hats.
Mhm.
And then really speaking to irrigation, and then when you spoke about the software needs behind it. And so when we think of irrigation, it's not just turning on and off, it's actually software, and it's just much more involved, so.
there's software needs, there's troubleshooting, water pressure and meters and repairs on site, and it's pretty significant. Backflow certifications, there's a lot of technical knowledge that goes with it. It's not just field work. Thank you. That's my report.
Thank you, Director Budge. Do we need public comment on this? No?
I think just the closing
Thank you.
public comment.
All right.
But there is the requirement of general public comment at the end of.
At the end of the meeting, okay. Thank you. Okay. I think we're down to members' announcements and requests for information. Anybody? Mr. Baker Roberts? Any announcements?
Turn your microphone.
Well, it's an old history of Sunset Park. I grew up across west of Sunset Park when it was just a dirt field, so it's really going to be exciting. And there are some homeowners there that are, descendants of families that were there. So I think it's pretty exciting because in the early 60s, it was just dirt.
Well, I just wanted to say I'm excited about the Sunset Park operation and getting that kid structure, because I can tell you honestly that I live down the street from there, and when it's nice out, those mothers and fathers just push their kids and the baby they are back and forth all day long to that little park. And then if I drive by or walk the dog by, there's always people parked there. So it's definitely a niche that is being met and will be greatly appreciated with the new equipment. So do we do any kind of, when you said that doesn't seem like it'd take a long time, can we put a sign out there to explain to everybody what is going on when we ultimately start doing that? Is that something that we could
Absolutely.
alert those people? Because like I said, it's pretty popular with those
When
people
we
that have little ones.
Yeah, absolutely. We typically will put notices at the park. Sometimes we'll notice the neighbors around the park as well when we have a project coming up. Once the board approves this budget, then we could start on the design. But absolutely.
And maybe even that'd be a great thing, because if you do start on the design, to let people know that it is
And get some
in the
feedback from
the
the
design phase, and maybe get some feedback from them with things that they do like and don't like over there.
Absolutely. We can
Right.
definitely do that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Schutte?
Well, I just saw in the news yesterday, and it seemed like a fun community outreach opportunity. And first of all, Parks and Rec and Open Space, your team does amazing work. And, I love the interactive opportunities and hikes and all of that. So yesterday on the news, they did a rose pruning event. Yeah, in Reno. And so someone from the city, an expert in pruning, I guess every year they do that, and showing community members how to prune roses. But they all help then prune the rose bushes on the city property. And it was just kind of a fun, interactive opportunity, and so I just wanted to pass that on.
Thank you for that comment. Anybody else? I guess it's my turn. Um, First, I want to commend Commissioner Meyer for his voice of experience. He seems like he's been down some of these paths before, and we appreciate your wisdom and guidance. I want to mention the tennis courts. It's been a couple of weeks since I went out to Centennial to look, but they were going gangbusters, and I'm going to have to, as soon as the weather clears, I'm going to go out again and see what they're up to. But that's a great project. I'm happy to see that coming along. Make some. No, we're just trying to make the tennis players happy. I played tennis for a long time, and I know how important it is. So I think that's a worthwhile, very worthwhile project. Yeah, yeah. What else did I want to mention? We have some pickleball activities coming up this weekend. Pretty exciting. Starting Friday evening, we have a singles event for the Dinks and Drinks tournament. Saturday will be men and women's doubles, and Sunday will be the mixed doubles. So far, I actually just closed registration yesterday. Yeah, we have 246 players competing in 20 events. Looks like we'll be somewhere around 430 to 440 matches over the weekend. So it's going to be some long days, but should be fun. We have players from Nevada, California, Oregon, Idaho, Hawaii, and British Columbia, Canada. So it's pretty cool to have people participating from all over the country. I think we even have, I might have left one out. I think we have somebody from Maryland that's coming out that's part-time out here. So that's pretty exciting. We're very excited about the construction, to hear about the start of construction on the courts next week. That's really cool. Wanted to thank Parks for making the courts available at Mills Park to Pioneer High School PE teacher for their use. The weather has not cooperated, but I think we may get in a couple of days next week, possibly. So maybe Monday, Tuesday. They've done a unit already in the house, but they don't really have any outside. And it was really nice for you to make that happen. Excited about that. And that is all I have on pickleball tonight. So thank you for that.
Commissioner Walt is not here for item 7A, but you do have a hard copy report from the Parks Foundation for 7B in your packet.
I don't have that printed out.
They're just going to regularly provide at least a written update so you know what's going on with the
Going on
Parks Foundation
Foundation.
and can be up to date on everything.
Okay. All right. Do you have that, Commissioner Meyer? Okay. It says that the Board of Directors for the foundation met on March 19th and basically reviewed the foundation's financial reports, reviewed specific strategies to communicate regularly with membership and other stakeholders, approved in-kind whole sponsorships for the Battleborn Tree Service and Cinderlight Trucking for their contributions to the Carson Ridge Disc Golf Complex. They discussed ways for the foundation to become more proactive in supporting improvement projects for parks and recreation in Carson City, and discussed strategies to increase the participation rates in the youth scholarship program, especially among eligible families at Boys and Girls Clubs. Special attention is being directed at the 40 to 50 families that qualify for funding through the Children's Cabinet. There is some detail here on finances and foundation projects. I think that's probably enough of a summary for now, unless anybody has questions. Okay. All right. Future agenda items. Do we have anything there?
Thank you. Jennifer Budge, Parks and Recreation Director. Our next meeting is a joint meeting with the Open Space Advisory Committee. You have in your packet just a draft agenda of what staff put together that may ebb or flow depending on where we are with everything. But we try to annually at that meeting provide a volunteer update. That's when the park rangers come and do a presentation for all of you. We've made some progress on our memorial effort. You guys passed the memorials policy, and we're ready to implement that and bench sponsorships and other things like that. So we'll be happy to unveil that. Hopefully, we'll have an update for you on the Carson River Master Plan and a couple other items, and then I'll update you as well on our budget progress. So it'll be a big meeting.
Very good.
Bring snacks.
All right, bring snacks. Who's got the pizza?
We'll bring something for you guys.
Good.
We'll take good care of you.
All right, thank you, Director Hunt. Okay, I think we're down to final public comment, if anybody has anything to say.
Thank you, Chair. Denny French, Carson City. I have several things to bring up, and I don't think I'm going to have my whole time unless I ham too much. I would like it be considered for an agenda item, which I didn't get a chance to ask any of you to put forward for me, or at least to suggest that as the artificial turf park centennial for the ballparks goes forward, I would like to suggest that the park safety specialist be brought in to help guide development of a signage that would educate people on the manufacturer's best practice for players, best type of shoes, considerations about heat and the responsibility to gauge that and keep monitoring it, and that parents should know that children of certain heights will be affected perhaps more than adults on playing fields, even if they're spectators, and that pets are not allowed on the field. Those type of guidelines and considerations for individuals, heat exhaustion signs, things like those type of things. As our seasons and the global heat is going up, I think reminding people the health and safety considerations that are put forward by the manufacturers themselves should be at least followed. Now, I am, as you know, opposed to artificial turf, and I would like to suggest to all of you to please watch that infield meeting on March 6th. The discussion on that will help you understand perhaps the off gases that may put off and the considerations some children will have as far as the effects on them, even in outdoor spaces, on hot days especially. Indoor spaces, the heat is not such an issue, but airflow. So as I mentioned during that meeting, so that, and I'd also, since the cemeteries were brought up, I would like to suggest that, and I'm sorry, the timer wasn't on, so if I'm running over, excuse me, that the cemeteries were brought up, but the Empire Ranch, I believe that's the one up by the Waste Management Office, off of there, hadn't been, I don't think, mentioned, and it's still in limbo or such, but it does need some care and tender, loving care, actually. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Denny.
Thank you.
Okay, I would think we're ready to entertain a motion to adjourn. Second?
I move to
All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.
Wonderful job.